Have you ever been talking to someone and then your mind just stops? Nothing comes out. Suddenly, the conversation feels awkward. You panic. You force yourself to think of something, anything. But somehow, the harder you try, the worse it gets. Here's the crazy part. Scientists discovered your brain isn't running out of words. It's actually doing the opposite. At every moment, your mind creates dozens of things you could say, questions, stories, jokes, memories, opinions. But before any of them reach your mouth, your brain quietly deletes them. That's stupid. They won't care. That sounds weird. Don't embarrass yourself. Without realizing it, you've built an invisible filter, and every year, that filter becomes stronger. Think about your best friend. Have you ever noticed you never run out of things to say? Why? Because around them, the filter disappears. Now imagine living like that, with everyone. Today, I'm going to show you why your brain keeps sabotaging conversations, and the simple psychology trick that can completely change the way people experience you. Because the biggest conversation secret isn't learning what to say, it's learning what to stop hiding. But before I show you the trick, you first need to understand why your brain does this in the first place. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and then, 10 minutes later, the perfect response suddenly popped into your head? I should have said that. We've all been there. But here's what most people never realize. The problem wasn't that you couldn't think. The problem was you thought too much. Your brain isn't a conversation machine. It's a survival machine. Thousands of years ago, being judged by your tribe could mean being left alone, and being alone could mean death. So your brain evolved a simple strategy. Stay safe. Don't say anything risky. Even though today, a simple conversation isn't life or death, your brain still acts like it is. Every sentence goes through an invisible security checkpoint. Could this sound stupid? Will they laugh? What if they don't care? And one by one, your best thoughts get rejected. That's why the smartest people often stay the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, but because they over-edit everything. So how do you beat this invisible filter? With something surprisingly simple, the 3-second rule. The moment an idea enters your mind, count 1, 2, 3, then say it. Not because it's perfect, but because real conversations were never meant to be perfect. Think about your closest friend. Do you carefully edit every sentence before speaking? Of course not. And that's exactly why talking to them feels effortless. Confidence doesn't come from finding perfect words. It comes from trusting that imperfect words are enough. But speaking faster isn't the real secret, because there's one skill that makes people instantly enjoy talking to you, even if you're naturally quiet. What if I told you the best conversationalists actually talk less? Sounds impossible, right? But think about the last person you genuinely enjoyed talking to. Were they constantly telling stories about themselves? Probably not. They did something much more powerful. They made you feel interesting. Here's a strange truth about human psychology. People don't enjoy conversations because of what they hear. They enjoy conversations because of how they feel while speaking. That's why the most charismatic people aren't always the funniest or the smartest. They're simply the most curious. Imagine someone tells you, "I just got back from Italy." Most people instantly switch the conversation to themselves. "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to visit Europe." Conversation over. But a curious person notices something different. Italy. That's not one topic. It's 5. Food, history, travel, culture, adventure. One sentence contains dozens of hidden conversations. This is called conversation threading. Every time someone speaks, they're quietly handing you multiple doors. Most people walk through only one. Great conversationalists see them all. So instead of asking, "How was Italy?" ask, "What surprised you the most?" Then, "Which city felt the most alive?" Then, "Would you ever move there?" Notice what happened? You never searched for something to say. You simply followed their story. And suddenly, the conversation starts feeling effortless, because here's the biggest mistake people make. They think conversations are about talking. They're not. They're about discovering. The moment someone feels understood, they stop seeing you as a stranger and start seeing you as someone they genuinely enjoy being around. But even with all these tricks, your mind will still go blank sometimes. So what do the world's best communicators do? When that happens, even after everything you've learned today, there will still be moments when your mind suddenly goes blank. And you know what? That's completely normal. Even TV hosts, comedians, and professional speakers experience it. The difference is they don't panic because they know silence isn't the enemy. Fear is. The moment you stop fighting the silence, your brain relaxes. And when your brain relaxes, words begin to return. So the next time your mind goes blank, don't force a brilliant answer. Instead, look around. Notice something. Ask one simple question or go back to something the other person mentioned earlier. That's all it takes. Because conversations aren't built on perfect words. They're built on genuine attention. At the end of the day, people won't remember every sentence you said. They won't remember every joke or every story, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And maybe that's what we've been getting wrong all along. We've spent years trying to become more interesting, when the real secret was becoming more interested. Because the people everyone loves talking to aren't perfect speakers. They're simply people who make others feel heard. So the next time you're in a conversation, stop trying to impress. Start trying to understand. You'll be surprised how much easier talking becomes. And maybe, for the first time, you'll realize you never actually ran out of things to say. You were just hiding them. If this video changed the way you think about conversations, share it with someone who always says, "I'm just bad at talking to people." And if you enjoy psychology, communication, and becoming the best version of yourself, hit subscribe. Because every week, we're breaking down the hidden psychology that quietly controls our lives. I'll see you in the next one.